All right, so here we go, the Black Label 38. I'm gonna talk about the 38, tell y'all kind of what it's all about, in my opinion, and where I got the name for it, and kind of why I built this bait. I know we have a good many flat baits already with the Black Label lineup, but flat baits, they're all, to me, kind of niche baits in a way, just because there's a huge difference between fishing water that's, say, 45 degrees versus fishing water that's 55 degrees or even warmer or even colder. There's a big difference between fishing a lake that's maybe mostly clay, that's got a lot of color to it, maybe it's got some isolated wood and things like that, versus fishing a lake where you've got more rock and you've got more clear water or maybe even some grass. Flat baits are gonna work on any body of water at specific times in the year. One of the main times of the year is from now until the spawn. Flat baits also really will be a player in the fall if you have the confidence to fish with them. But flat baits are all for, to me, for a purpose. The main thing and the main reason why I wanted the 38 is because I felt like sometimes of the flat baits that I currently make, with the exception of the little Cliffy, a lot of times I couldn't quite get the bait as deep as I wanted it to get. The 38 will actually run 9 foot deep. And guys, that's deep for a small flat bait. The other thing about the 38 compared to some of the other flat baits that I make is the 38 is tighter. It's substantially tighter than most of the flat baits that we currently build. The other attribute that it has is the 38 is thinner, and that's where the name comes from. The name 38 comes from the fact that this bait's 3/8 of an inch wide. That's where I came up with the name, the 38. The thinner bait, the thinner body of a crankbait built like this, actually what to me it does is as this bait vibrates, so it's really tight, this bait's kind of changing places with itself, as you can imagine, as it swims through the water. You end up with a part of this bait that creates a solid image, because when it goes all the way left and it goes all the way right, if you take those two alignments, if you can imagine it's this way, and if I had another bait in my hand this way, you have a section there that stays solid. And that's a silhouette that's solid, that's constant, that a fish sees. The thinner bait, the thinner profile of this bait actually creates, even though it's a 2.5 inch bait, it creates a smaller profile. Those are all three things that I look for in a good cold water bait. And I look for a bait that's got a tight, fast action. I look for a bait that will get as deep as I can normally get it. 9 foot, that's getting it down there pretty good. And that's on 12-pound test fluorocarbon and a casting rod. So you can actually push the limits of that and get it deeper than 9 foot. And I normally like a fairly small profile bait. Not necessarily a small bait, but a small profile bait when it's cold. A lot of times when it's cold, that smaller profile bait is just absolutely going to get more bites. So that's what the 38 is all about. I think it's a bait that a lot of guys are going to use. I started to name this bait Gore-Tex, and the reason why is because that's what I'm going to be wearing a lot of the times when I'm fishing with this bait is my Gore-Tex suit. That's the time of the year that this bait's really going to shine. I do think it'll be a player on certain bodies of water in the fall, but for sure it's going to be a staple bait for, water that gets, from right now moving forward until the fish decide to go back to the bank and spawn. So that's the new Black Label 38. I appreciate y'all watching the video, and y'all can definitely look them up. We've got them for sale today on Woodbait Country.